Rabbi Yoni Golka, you had the privilege of actually seeing the late Rabbi Lord Sacks Zatzal in action many times as your capacity in the St. John's Wood Shul. Tell me, what was your personal connection to Rabbi Lord Sacks?
First of all, thank you so much for inviting me to be here. It's really a big honor to be addressing the sixth form at Hasmonean. I think we all had a personal connection with Rabbi Lord Sacks, really, because the far-reaching impact that he made, whether it was directly or indirectly, was universal. And I'm talking not just Jewish, not just religious, I'm talking modern, secular, Gentile, everyone and anyone across many walks of life. Rabbi Sacks had a huge impact. And I was very privileged, as you said, over the last 4.5 years to have had a relationship with him while being the assistant rabbi at St. John's Wood. Earlier than that, there was a family connection when he was the rabbi in Golders Green, going back many decades. But over the last 4.5 years, I've been so blessed and privileged that his office was in St. John's Wood Synagogue. So very often I would just pass him by in the building. We had the great honor of hosting him in our home for Shabbat. Friday night dinner with my parents, Rabbi Lord Sacks at our dinner table. It didn't get better than that. And on many other occasions, in fact, the exact year before he passed away, Parshas Vayera, he was in St. John's Wood Synagogue with Chazan Shulam Lemma, who's one of the greatest voices in the Jewish world. And I said, we have in the room the greatest rabbi in the world and the greatest Chazan in the world, and we had the most remarkable Friday night dinner. But I'll tell you, Yossi, you know what it was about Rabbi Lord Sacks? He made each and every person feel so special, and he had time for everyone. I remember that Friday night, I said to him, you know, Rabbi Lord Sacks, as a young rabbi, aspiring to become greater, I listen to your sermons and I just think to myself, how do you do it? What's your secret? I mean, for any of you students who haven't watched his sermons, go on YouTube and watch him speak. There's a very famous TED lecture, which I recommend on YouTube, but it's phenomenal. And I said to him, what's your secret? And he put his arm around me in his way. And he said, Yoni, don't think it comes by itself. My sermons start on Sunday morning after breakfast. He begins planning on a Sunday what he's going to say the following Shabbos, and he works on it. And I've spoken to people who worked with him. He practices and he learns and he tries. And what seems like this terrific show is something that that really he puts a lot of effort into. And that was my personal connection with him through shul. He used to reach out to us when we had simchas, when we had good times, bad times, when I was sitting shiva for my father, when we had a new baby, when I wasn't well. He was always there. And he made time, even though he's this global presence, he made time for people.
Wow. Wow. You were very, very lucky. There are billions of people in this world, and we look at the numbers of the YouTube hits before his passing. Millions, each one of them. Who knows how many people from anywhere that he touched in a way that you know, any famous individual, any famous superstar wouldn't have had the same exposure. So in your mind, what was his greatness? If you were asked to just pinpoint down to one thing, what was his greatness?
I think there's so much anyone could say on this, but for me, he combined this formidable intellect, this brilliance, together with passion and charisma. In other words, he had this incredible combination, that's very unusual, to have drive, passion, talent, and to bring that together. But not only that, he didn't make other people feel anything less than him, even though he was a giant compared to the average layman who he would speak to. He would make everyone feel great. You know, I don't know if you saw, Yossi, there was an amazing interview with him, with Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss is a very famous interviewer. And I'm going to play you the first 60 seconds of this interview. Listen carefully to this, guys. This sums it up, and this explains why I've put on a yellow tie today in his honor. Listen to this.
Rabbi Sacks, welcome to the show.
Tim, great to be with you.
I'm so thrilled to finally connect. I have pages and pages and stacks of questions for you. We'll see how much we can get to. And I wanted to start with a perhaps unusual starting point, and that is asking about yellow ties. I found under the category of strange habits a note from your wife of 50 years in the Times UK. He always wears a yellow tie when he's due to give important speeches or on special occasions. So I wouldn't expect you to wear one right now, but is there any truth to that statement? And could you elaborate if so?
100%. Tim, I always used to wear silver ties. This kind of dignified thing that ministers of religion do. And I had a huge collection of silver ties. Then at a certain point in time, I'm not sure whether it was 2016 or a little earlier than that, the world began to fall apart. And that was when I realized that part of my job was not just to speak or to write, but to cheer people up. And I think Little Miss or Little Mr. Cheerful has to be colored yellow. So I thought wearing a yellow tie cheers people up. And by and large, consciously or subconsciously, it does.
It's just incredible, Yossi. This is the godless of Rabbi Lord Sacks. Forget being inspirational leader, moral voice of the world. He was a human being who realized that his job was to touch other people's lives and enhance other people's lives. He wore a yellow tie to do so. Now, some would say this was a tragic fashion mistake today, wearing this yellow tie. But Rabbi Lord Sacks...
On you, they might say that.
Me, absolutely. Yeah. Rabbi Lord Sacks, he always looked so suave and elegant, but he had a kavanah why he was doing that. He wanted to brighten people's days up. That, for me, was his greatness.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I've never heard that interview before. And I thank you just for that, because I'm desperate to get as many, archives as possible. We need to hold on to it. So look, I'm speaking to you from my Hasmonean office. I don't know whether you can hear the mayhem of just a regular classroom going on in the walls all around me. But, and thank you for your time already. But just finally, if you were speaking to a Hasmonean boy in 2020 about Rabbi Lord Sacks, and by the way, this is going out to all years, not just sixth form, we've decided to roll this out. If you were speaking to them, what message would you give them with regards to the late, great Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks Zal and his overall aura and legacy to the Hasmonean schoolboy and schoolgirl?
It's a fabulous question. And I'll tell you like this. I was very, very privileged to be the last person to have a face-to-face engagement with him. I interviewed him just 8 weeks before he passed away. I want to share with you the final thing he said to me. There's one final question, or perhaps request. What advice would you give a young aspiring rabbi? I look up to you as someone who's such a role model, has made such an impact on the Jewish world. What advice and blessing can you offer me?
Number one, you've already followed. Marry the right woman. Number two, aseh lecho rav. Find the role models. Just go the tiniest bit out of your comfort zone. Do something you never did before. Now, I don't think you ever produced programs like this before, did you? So you've challenged yourself. And I would really do that once a year. Set yourself a challenge. Don't think you're going to get all of them, Some of them you'll try and it just won't work. Doesn't matter. The blessing is in the trying.
That really, Yossi, is my concluding message from Rabbi Lord Sacks. Ensure you have role models and make sure that you set yourself challenges in life. And with that, you'll go very far.
You were very privileged.
Absolutely.
Last person. Wow. Thank you. We didn't know that. Thank you.
For a Hasmonean boy or girl listening to this, and remember this, my father always used to say, what you will be, you are now becoming. And you're sitting here in an assembly, listening about this great giant who in your mind is something that you could never imagine that you would be him. But he was you. He was that boy, that teenager who aspired to be great. And if you have the will, the desire, and I'm sure the ability, which I'm sure you all do have within you, you can become something more than you can ever imagine. I think really to sum it up, I'm going to sum it up, Yossi, with 3 of my favorite quotes from Rabbi Lord Sacks, which I think give this message. My first favorite quote was, he used to say, to defend a country, you need an army. But to defend a civilization, you need an education. Rabbi Sacks taught me the value of chinuch, of education, of Torah learning, secular learning, trying to grow your knowledge. Don't underestimate what you can be. Don't underestimate how much information you can fit into your brain. The more you try and put inside, the more overflowing you will become. So that's my message number 1. Message number 2, Rabbi Sacks used to say another famous quote, follow your passion, not wealth, success, or accolades or fame is worth spending a lifetime doing things you don't enjoy. Rabbi Sacks did something that he loved doing, and by extension, he therefore had an impact on almost every human being on the planet. I can tell you, I did an interview earlier this year with Rabbi Slavin in Sydney, Australia, who set up the Social Kitchen. This is a kitchen for people who are struggling, who need food, and he has a special program with prisons where he has ex-cons, ex-inmates of the prison, as part of their rehabilitation, they work in the kitchen. And the head chef in his kitchen changed his life around. Do you know why? Because he read one of Rabbi Sacks' books in a prison cell in Australia, across the world, and he changed his entire life round. So don't underestimate the power of success you can have if you're passionate about something. And the final quote, Rabbi Sacks says that cyberspace doesn't compensate for real space. We benefit from chatting to people face to face. Rabbi Sacks taught me that the importance of having real relationships with people, trying to influence other people, but not just sitting there. You know, you look at some teenagers nowadays, and adults, by the way, they just sit there like this. Try and make it real. Make your relationships real. Be passionate about what you do. Educate yourself. And I'm sure we will grow the next generation of Rabbi Lord Sackses. Thank you so much, Rabbi Yossi.
Oh, Rabbi Yoni Golka, thank you so, so much. May his memory be a blessing. And may your teachings to the boys and the girls be something they'll remember for a very long time. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.